Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to interview Gabrielle Acabo, who is a student of nursing at Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan in Philippines. She will be having clinical duty in her university hospital come June. First of all, Gabrielle, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I'm very excited to talk about a profession that is increasingly essential to the whole society, especially because of the pandemic. Thank you so much. So,
Thank you for inviting me.
oh, thank you. I'm really happy and I'm really excited to this. So, can we start the
Yeah,
question?
sure. I'm ready.
Yeah, let's go. So the first question is, what led you to choose nursing as your future career?
Okay, so I think I shared this to you when we first virtually met. Um, Actually, nursing is at the bottom of my list of the things or the career that I really wanted to choose. So honestly, it was what my parents wanted for me because it was an easy ticket to go to Australia, which I plan on doing because both of my parents are there. Um, and but my mindset changed as I went through my first year of nursing school. Um, it was very hard. A lot of tears during the first year. There's definitely a shock, a lot of things to absorb before we go to second year, which is where we did our first clinical clerkship duty. And as soon as I handled my first patient, that's when I realized I wanted to do this. This is something I could definitely do for the rest of my life. Being able to help patients was really, it was humbling. um it was a very good feeling to know that you help people get better. um and also, it didn't matter how many hours you stood up for 8 hours, going back and forth, taking care of them, but it felt like it was worth it. So yeah, that was it.
Oh, it's amazing to hear you. And I'm really happy you talk about your profession with so much passion, so much love. And oh, I really want to thank you so much for all of the health professionals that are helping us a lot, that have always saved us, but during the pandemic, students and professionals are really important to all of us. Thank you so much. And your history is really amazing. I'm really emotional with this. Let's go to the other question. Do you think your profession is properly valued in your country?
Mm. It's very complicated to say, but for me personally, I don't think it is, or at least for the majority. This is because nurses in our country are very underappreciated. So it's a known fact that a lot of nurses from the Philippines um, go abroad to work. This is because they're underpaid, undervalued, and it seems kind of a joke um, to it's a joke to say that nurses are just caregivers here in the Philippines. But outside the Philippines, nurses are very valued, right? They're very highly respected, high pay as well. They're not just caregivers, but they're also partners with the doctors to care for the patients. So actually, many of my seniors already went abroad to seek greener pastures, and it's no surprise at all. So after graduation, some would not work. They would review right away to be able to go outside the country to work outside. So in fact, that's what I'm planning to do after I graduate. I'll probably take time off to review and then go abroad. If if things get better, hopefully with the pandemic. I know a lot of Filipinos probably need more nurses here. But that won't happen if things won't change, especially if the leaders don't give enough benefits to the nurses here. So if they would want to keep the nurses, they should do more effort to be able to keep them here.
Yeah, it's very interesting because here in Brazil, we have the same situation. And I observed that many health professionals, and not only nurses, but doctors, physiotherapists, are not valued as I wanted to, um, especially because of the government and the people in general. The society don't value them, and I'm really, I don't know, but I'm really sad with this because you are really important. And when I watch some series and I read papers about other countries, and I feel really bad about Brazil because we have a lot of good professionals here, but unfortunately, government don't support them, and people doesn't support them too. So I'm really I'm tired of this, and that's why I wanted to do this interview, because this interview is dedicated to all of the professionals of health professionals that are really important, not only during the pandemic but before the pandemic. They have always been important. So Brazil is very similar to the Philippines in this case. So can we go to the other questions? So the third question is, in general, what is it like to be a nursing student during a pandemic?
So, being a student nurse in the pandemic is something we really didn't expect would happen. Really, at first, we thought there would be an academic freeze. So, no classes at all, because for us, we thought it was nearly impossible to conduct classes without hands-on experience, right? Without going to the hospital for clerkship. But our clinical instructors really thought of ways to teach us, because having academic freeze would just delay our graduation even more. And we're not even really sure when this pandemic will end, because that will always depend on the government's response for the pandemic. So being a student nurse in during the pandemic is very hard. It's you feel as if you've already wasted so much time, because I'm already on my third year. So you're like halfway through the finish line, right? And it's too late to go back from the start. So every day as I learn, it gets harder to try and adapt to the new situation. um, Anxiety with academics is also filled with anxiety um, of the uncertainty that you will actually graduate, that you will actually pass the boards with the knowledge that you gained from online classes. Um, you also, for me, I think I slowly start to lose the passion that I once had when I was in first, second year. It's because I'm not able um, to face my patients um, face to face.
Yeah.
We're given cases that are theoretical, hypothetical. It's very hard to imagine. You want to care for your patients very much, but there's a lot of loopholes. Really, I learned also a lot this pandemic. But yeah, I think because I've already finished my third year, I'm already going fourth year on June. Um, I could say I'm already adjusted. I've um began to realize my whys again, like why I started this. And I'm excited again to go back to my clerkship because it's happening on June already.
Oh my God. And you told me about the face-to-face situation, and I was thinking about this. And nursing professionals are really close to the patients as doctors, but nurses are really close to them. And I imagine it's really difficult to all of you to be distant. And I think it's kind of strange sometimes. Sometimes it can be sad too. So I imagine the situation. I imagine how sad you are. It's really uncomfortable situation, but I'm emotional. But let's go to the fourth. Did the pandemic ever make you think about giving up your career, and why? I don't know if I'm lost on the questions, because I'm really
Uh,
emotional.
it's okay. Like I've mentioned, actually, I've probably thought about it a lot
Mm,
during the first few months of the pandemic. Um, it's because, as I've said, I've already reached halfway through the finish line, and
mhm.
I always thought about it every day, probably every day. Should I back down now? With all the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears that brought me here.
Yeah,
And so after a while, it really made me realize that I didn't want um to end my career with this. It'll be like putting my parents' efforts in vain, and it will be losing hope for the country to get better. So even when things are worse in the Philippines, for sure I would want to help my countrymen in the future when I graduate. Um, for me, even if nurses aren't um, appreciated enough, I know that because of our experience during the pandemic, we can help change them.
yeah,
There's so much the youth can change
yes,
because I'm not only a student nurse, right? I am also a student leader in
yeah,
my school, and I'm not only focused on nursing, but I also join a lot of um, policy making, webinars, things like that, even if it's just small scale, but the knowledge you gain can help in the future. So that's why I didn't want to end my career just here. Even though at first that was the case, I really cried a lot with my parents. I thought, you're wasting your money on my education, but the Philippines is very different. You know that feeling? Because in Australia, um things got better so quick. Even now, they're not anymore wearing masks, and the vaccines are being rolled out fast, so they've already achieved herd immunity. While here in the Philippines, the estimated years for that by the government was 5 years. So imagine, in 5 years, um they thought that the pandemic will end in the Philippines. That's too long, right? So things have to change when I graduate, probably 2 years from now, or at least a year and a half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the same situation here for me. In Brazil, we have a bad situation right now. Things are really slow here, and I've graduated last year, and I'm looking for a job, and it's really slow. And I really want to go abroad after the pandemic because um, we don't have support enough. of- You know, I study a lot as you stud, but we don't have support by the government, and the pandemic situation here is terrible, and I'm really worried about my parents, and I'm not a health professional. Imagine you, and it's a situation that worries me a lot. So it's really difficult, and I really want to go to Australia someday to study. It's such a good country, and there are a lot of courses to do, and I really want to visit someday. Let's go. It's our last question, but I guess it's the more important. I'm really anxious to this. It's, if you could leave a message to nursing professionals in Brazil, what would you say?
Um, Actually, when you shared how nurses in the Philippines and in Brazil are alike, so I was very confident on how I would be able to answer this because I know the struggle, the pain, the efforts that feel like they're in vain. Um, Actually, right, I said I didn't really choose nursing first, but when I realized that I wanted this for life, it really changed me on my mindset. Nursing really is a humbling experience, and whenever we face patients, there's this feeling of remembering or appreciating what's really important in life. So whenever I face a patient, I forget about the material things. I
Problem.
forget about being materialistic because I'm focusing on the people that I care. So sometimes I wonder what really matters in life, what really matters living this life. So I forget about what I want for my next birthday, but what I focus on is will I help this person be able to reach his next birthday? Something like that. My mindset is always like that. Um, so what for example also, what do I want for Christmas? It's not like that. Um my mindset is how can I help this person be able to spend Christmas with their loved ones? So that's for me, that's the mindset of a nurse. They always care for the person that's in front of them, their patient. Um, I want to say that nurses really aren't just caregivers. So we are advisors, teachers, confidants that you can share everything, be completely honest with, because we really won't judge you for the past mistakes that you have. So like, right, even if you're an ex-con or you've done something bad in your past, that doesn't mean we won't treat you. We will treat you as a person with a non-judgmental mindset, because we still think that you have the right to be treated, to continue living your life, hopefully with a changed life. Also, we will be your best supporters. So any decision that you make, you will be supported by your nurse, and of course we will be family to our patients. um I have a lot of experiences where my patients already thank me for the work that um I've done for them. I know that it's not that much, but really their thank yous and how they smile, knowing that they'll be able to go home, it's really that's really what matters for me. Um, aside from the the financial, I know, like what I was aiming for, maybe to go to Australia. I think that's the last priority, the money that you get, but the first is the contentment that you get from your patients because you were able to help them. That really means your hard work paid off. The 4 years of nursing school really taught you how to care for others. So I hope that you always remember your whys, like why you started this, why you want to help people, and why does this really matter. And there's this quote that I really like. I forgot who said it. It's probably one of the nursing theorists or just a random person. They said, "Save one life, you're a hero. Save 100, you're a nurse." So that really struck me, right? Um, Saving a life, you're a hero. We could save um a lot of people in our time, but imagine if you're a nurse. We always handle 12 patients. The ratio is always 12 patients, one nurse. And that's already hard enough. But we do our best in our best ability to care for all 12 of them. That's all.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful message. And your nurses are complete professionals. You are psychologists, you are friends. I'm really happy with this interview because of this. And when, as we were talking about this, I was thinking about a nurse that I met some years ago, and I was really bad at the hospital. I was crazy, and it was such a big pain for me, and I was desesperated. But she was always my friend. She always talked to me and asked me, "Is it okay with you? Do you want to me to talk to you? Are you better?" She smiled for me, and it was such an amazing experience, and I'm really thankful for her and forever, and I'm really thankful for all of you. And thank you. I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I'm really
Yes.
happy with this interview. I'm really excited to this. I'm really anxious. I was really anxious to interview you, and I have no words because the answers were amazing. Thank you so much,
Thank
Gabrielle.
you.
And thank you so much to all the nurses from Philippines and from around the world. Thank you so much for this. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really had fun.
I'm really happy that that you enjoy the interview, and that's it. So bye bye, and
Bye.
I
Thank
hope
you.
that all of you that are watching us enjoy the interview, and because this is such an amazing student of nursing. She really inspired me and will inspire more and more people. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you so
bye.
much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.